But if you're in the market for a house hack or a rental, I'd be out there really looking in the summer right now because we have inventory and we have the summer slowdown, and there's definitely some opportunities out there. What's up, Colorado? Chris Lopez here, and we have your monthly market update podcast for the month of May. So we're going to talk stats and we're going to talk some deals. And we have a stat whose growth is about off the chart, and we'll get that into 1 minute. But first, let me introduce my panelists today. I got Jeff White. Hello, Jeff. How are you doing?
Doing fabulous. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great. And I've got Troy Howell from NOVA Home Loans here. What's up, Troy?
Rates, unfortunately, are not up, or fortunately, shall we say. But yeah, a little bit better. But yeah, here, and good to see you guys. Good to be here with you.
It's always great to have you guys back. And unfortunately, Jenny Bayless, who often brings our Southern Colorado stats, she cannot make the recording today, but I will fill in some stats. All right, so first, I want to jump into what really jumped out to me in the stats last month. It is the increase in active listings or inventory. And so a lot of times we talk about this number every single month because it helps us understand, hey, are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market, or are we in a balanced market? Well, when you look at the active listings or total inventory in May, we're about 9,200 homes. So that is residential homes, 9,200. Well, in May of 2023, we're about 5,200. So this is a 75% increase year over year. Now, I cannot remember a time where we've seen such a big increase in inventory over a 1 year mark. I mean, Jeff and Troy, can you guys, or at least since we've been doing real estate?
Definitely not. I feel like it's been pretty one-sided to a seller's market since I've been doing real estate and investing myself. So I've never seen that big of jump percentage-wise. But I know historically that's a different conversation. But percentage-wise, that's a huge jump on paper.
Yeah. Troy, what about you?
Yeah, it feels like we've been so short on inventory for so long. So it's hard telling. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, without looking at some real stats, did it feel like it was more of a seller's market?
Yeah, I mean, so, not in recent memory, at least since I've been active real estate, I say, hey, over a year, we have jumped 75% in inventory. And Jeff mentioned, hey, this is, we got to look at the historical norm on here. Historically, the average active listings for May are just about 15,000 homes. So even though we saw a huge increase in inventory, like almost double what we saw last year, we're still about 6,000 homes short of our historical average. And that average is from 1985 to 2023. So that's quite a long-term average on there. So big increase, but still below the historical average for active listings. So this is, I think, if I could look at one metric for how the market is doing, it would be looking at active listings. Because at the end of the day, it tells how many properties are on the market. And we look at, closings, active listings, it all feeds into this number. So now what that means is when we have more properties on the market, that's a combination of more listings coming online. And I know since last year, we're up about 34%. About 25%. We're up from last year, so big increase. And we also have fewer closings. So what does that lead to? That leads to the more inventory standpoint. Now, that does not indicate that we're in a buyer's market yet. That doesn't indicate that prices are crashing. It's just saying, hey, more inventory is coming online. And this is pretty normal seasonally once we get past like Memorial Day. And May is when we hit Memorial Day, but we normally don't see an increase nearly this big in terms of like inventory increasing. Now, those are the stats. And Jeff and Troy, I want you guys to fill in, not the quantitative numbers, but what you're feeling out there as being boots on the ground with working with a bunch of buyers and sellers right now. So Jeff, you're out there looking at deals. What is the market right now, or what the market was like in May as you're looking at properties, you're putting offers in there? Like, what was your sense of the market?
Yeah, so qualitatively, it's definitely been a great time for buyers, actually, because of the more active inventory on the market I'm seeing and the higher rate environment. It's just people taking longer to make the buying decision. which means stuff is in the market 20, 30, 40 days longer than maybe this time last year for the same property. So that's good news for buyers in the sense of what I'm seeing is you could negotiate a lot more, get those seller credits to buy down the rate, pay off closing costs, and that you didn't have as much negotiation power. So I think it's definitely trending towards a buyer market, and that's a huge plus when buyers are looking at deals and trying to figure out how to make a deal work in this market.
Troy.
Yeah, same thing that Jeff just said there. I echo the same sentiment. Just seeing negotiations working out pretty well for the buyer. Just had one close last week with a 2-1 buy down, which was nice. So borrower anticipating some hopefully better rates here in the near future, and being able to get $12,000 towards buying down the interest rate was pretty stellar deal for them, and should work out great. Hopefully in the next year or so, 6 months, we can get a refinance put together.
So with this, increased inventory, obviously that's going to have some type of impact on price. So I want to jump to the price metric for what property you sold for in May. So when we look over year, so May 24 compared to May 23, the average price is still up about 3.3%. Now, month over month, May to April, we're actually down about 0.75%, which again, I am a much bigger fan of going over year prices. So I believe in April to April of last year, we were at about 7% increase, and May over May, we're about 3.3%. So prices are still up, but the fact that inventory is coming up and we're going into the summer season, we're going to see a lot less price support now. And there may be some potential here. We see some, potential, I think, small price declines in the near future. What do you guys think?
Yeah, actually, I just realized one of the deals I worked on. It was a flipper over in Inglewood who had a really nice $700,000 flip. And it was on the market for about that 40+ day mark. And that data supports that. We could easily have gotten we initially asked for like about 30K seller credits to buy down the rate, pay off closing costs. And then we did the inspection and we said, there's these other things. So you can give us additional seller credits, or let's just do a price reduction, take out all the seller credits, and let's just drop it 60K from 700. And they agreed because the stuff's sitting in the market and they wanted to sell it and their holding cost was just too high. So that's a perfect example.
$60,000 price drop?
Yep.
Do you know what they bought it for? Any idea like how much they put in the remodel? Do they still make a profit off
the
of
numbers
it?
on that. They bought it for $425, put about $200K into it, so all in for $625, and then they sold it to us for $640. So yeah, they definitely lost some money there.
So when you take into account, not just the rehab cost, but you take into account, holding cost of probably a hard money loan payment. Yeah. And then, quite a few bucks in, transaction and commission costs. They probably lost money, huh?
Absolutely. But I feel like if their choice was go back on the market and then other people are going to find the same things we did in an inspection, or drop the price anyways. So they were definitely a motivated seller. So I'm starting to see more trends for that than I've seen even, during the fall, winter time.
Now, as everyone's out there, going out there and looking at opportunities to go out there and buy a house hack or buy a rental property, one of our favorite techniques is to look at houses that have been on the market for more than about 3 weeks. Because if there's been, no offers, or they've not been under contract right around that 3-week mark, that's a lot of times where sellers start dropping prices. So I think for people out there looking for deals, look for properties in the market for a while. Now, on the other extreme, for properties that are priced right and still in like primo locations, it is not uncommon to see them, go under contract within a few days of hitting the market. So we're kind of starting to get into like, a tale of two different types of properties being listed out there. So a lot of properties are still going under contract and closing relatively quick at or above list price. But for the properties that were overpriced or in less desirable areas, we have definitely seen the price soften a lot. And in Jeff's case, sometimes we're able to go out there and snag some deals. So Troy, I know you're not out there, showing buyers home and making offers, but anytime one of our clients or one of your clients goes out there and makes an offer, you're always on the phone talking with the listing agent to tell them about the finance we have in place and how well the buyer is qualified. So as you're having those questions or those conversations with the listing agents, what's the sentiment like on there and how are those conversations going?
Going well, and I think the listing agents are always very appreciative of the borrower being prepared and ready to go. It goes back to what we've talked about on many occasions, being pre-approved. So in instances where there might be somebody else entertaining, it just really helps us get accepted. Again, Jeff coming in with a well-written contract, good dates, price point, all that. And then you throw on top of that, hey, you've got a fully prepared borrower that has their credit, income, and assets nailed down, and it's just down to the property, right? As long as the dates and the price work for the property, for the sellers and everybody involved, we're good to go. And the probability of success is very high. So again, listing agents are pretty appreciative, and it's very helpful having that pre-approval in place. And especially whether you're coming in and asking for some concessions like we were talking about, or if you get a property that's looking at, even if it's one or two other, maybe it's not like 30 offers coming in like it was 2 or 3 years ago, but even one other person, you want to be able to beat them out, right? All it takes is 2 offers coming in, and then you've got some competition to overcome.
So I want to go over some high-level stats for Colorado Springs before we move into a couple of deals here in Denver, since Jenny Bayless can't make it today. Now, from a high level, Colorado Springs is having a very similar trajectory as to what Denver has had. So their inventory is up about 51% from last year for homes and 87% from condos year over year. Now, I'm not sure about the two of them combined, but it's above that 50% mark. So it's pretty similar to what we're seeing here in Denver. Now, looking at their sales prices year over year, homes are up about 4% and condos are up about 2%. So again, we're seeing very similar trends between Denver and Colorado Springs, where prices are still, up year over year, but inventory has increased a lot. All right, guys. So here's the big question. Over the next couple months and over next year, where do you think prices are going to land? Are they going to be higher, or are we actually going to see some price declines or some more overall market softness? Anyone got the crystal ball handy?
Troy has a crystal ball.
Oh, great, Troy.
I'll give my crystal ball a shot here. So, if I feel still very strongly, if we see some better rates, I think we're going to still have some pent up demand that's going to hit the market. Buyers coming out that weren't in there buying when they're seeing high 6s, low 7s, but they start seeing low 6s, high 5s. If we get there, I think we're going to see some movement happening, and we'll see another little flurry of activity, even with the higher number of available properties. And so I still, Jeff, you can tell me, or Chris, and what you guys feel about it, but I still think it's, get in the game now. Don't wait for it to happen, because I think there's some pent out demand that's going to create some competition for you to get something down the road.
Jeff, what's your crystal ball say?
My crystal ball, so this time next year, if rates still are at 7% or around there, like upper 6s, low 7s, then prices to me will be flat. Maybe a slight decrease of like 1 to 3%, because there's so much people not selling. The move up type buyer that wants to upgrade their 2-bedroom house to a 4-bedroom house because they had 2 more kids, but they're stuck at the 2-bedroom house because they have a 3% rate. So there's tons of people just sitting there that don't want to sell because they have their assets almost not the house, it's the debt structure. So you have those people waiting, and then you have all these other people, like Troy alluded to, that if rates do drop even to like low 6s, demand's just, it's not going to necessarily be 2021 all over again, but it will definitely be way more pent up interest that's going to come right back on the market. So if rates stay at 7-ish, then flat to slight decrease in prices overall. If rates drop to low 6s, I could see actually stuff going up 5-6%.
Yeah,
because of increased demand. That's my crystal.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And to give everyone context now, we are recording this in June, and actually just, I think, a day before the Fed's monthly June meeting, we'll have lots of data coming out. And of course, all the markets react to, what data comes out and what the Fed says. So this podcast will come out after that meeting happens, and we'll see where everything goes. But I am a big believer that if you're out there wanting to buy a property, whether it's a house hack or a rental, I would be really eyeing the summer right now. Because, traditionally, a lot of times, like Q4 is a great time to buy, and it still may be a great time to buy. But with this huge increase in inventory, and then just the summer slowdown as well, since we get past Memorial Day, you can probably go out there and find some deals like that house in Inglewood Jeff talked about, where you can get some, take a nice haircut off the price or get some really great concessions. Now, I think a lot of people are still expecting interest rates to drop later this year. And I think when they do drop, or if they drop enough, that'll bring more buyers online. So that may or may not impact the amount of buyers coming off the fence in, Q3 or Q4. But if you're in the market for a house hack or a rental, I'd be out there really looking in the summer right now because we have inventory and we have the summer slowdown, and there's definitely some opportunities out there. So Troy, I got a question for you, and you may or may not know this, but I saw a headline or a tweet or something somewhere about a new loan program for helping homeowners build ADUs. And I've seen one headline about this where they can take a HELOC on their home to help them fund an ADU without refinancing. And I may not be asking that properly, but do you have any insight into that loan program or details on there?
I know that some of the local agencies like Chaffa was talking about it and what they're going to do to help fund some of those. But everything's still kind of early days, and I haven't seen anything officially. Usually I'll get peppered with a lot of solicitations or different entities out there that are providing the product to get us to bring buyers to them or bring borrowers to them, shall I say. So I think it's still early days, but there's definitely some stuff on the move to make more of that happen. So I know the government and different localities are trying to promote some of that stuff. So we just got to get the infrastructure in there behind it to create some lending products and programs to support it. But it'll be kind of cool once it does. It'll be awesome for some guys to get these properties finished out with a nice ADU to make it work for them.
Yeah, I think it'll be great to have it. I mean, unfortunately, everyone, I say everyone, us, a lot of investors out there talk about ADUs, but we still don't build a whole lot. So hopefully this lending program that's out there, and we'll get more details next month, hopefully helps to build a couple more ADUs. But still, we don't see a massive amount of ADUs being built. I have an underwriting question for you, Troy.
Sure.
So I did see another news. I'm following the legislation around real estate, in Colorado a lot closer now with, all these bills coming back and forth. And I did see a bill pass where Polis did sign into law a bill that will cut property taxes. I think it was on average about $500 per month, and it helps to cap future property tax increases. So when we see a potential savings in property taxes like that, and here's my two-part question: does it have any significant impact on the buying power for buyers, since there's less expenses, and does that change anything the way you guys underwrite properties or underwrite loans for people?
100. On both cases, it does make a difference, because obviously when you calculate your debt to income ratio, the taxes are taken in consideration. So let's just say that the taxes improve by $600 on a property. That's $50 a month to the monthly payment, which effectively can change your price point by maybe $7,500 or so. It's about $30, $32 per month per $5,000 in lending power. So you're probably looking at about $7,500. So it's incremental, but it does make a difference for what somebody can qualify for. So, these insurance costs going up and the taxes, the way they bumped up, definitely was pinching some people on their qualifying abilities. So this will help alleviate it. It's not a magic pill, but it does help the cost for sure.
Okay, so that may
answer your question.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Troy?
Does that answer the question, though?
It
kind
does.
of what you're looking for?
And that's you took it the step further I wanted, where it was like, hey, if we have that type of monthly or annual savings, was that translate into purchase power? And so roughly it's not going to make any big change, but it may change your purchasing power around $7,500 to $10,000 total with that tax savings, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of improvement. Nothing you want to wait around for. And of course, we're always going to underwrite based off current tax information on that particular property. So we're going to pull a tax certificate on the property, and then all the numbers are calculated off of that.
Okay, so even that bill was signed, it's not going to have an effect today or immediately on property taxes. So it filters out to what you pull officially from the county? At
the time the transaction's being put together and underwritten. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that'll be a little ways off before you see any impact on there.
Correct.
All right. You mentioned another thing, insurance, Troy. And Jeff, I actually been meaning to ask this because I just, May is when all my insurance policies renew for my primary, my rentals, my umbrella, my auto policy. So I always, reshop everything in April. And so I did go out there and reshop my policy and get, a new insurance carrier. Some policies went down, or some premiums went down, some premiums went up, but nothing drastic. Actually, overall, I ended up saving a few dollars. And I'm going with the one that reduced my primary by a couple $1,000s. I was more focused on saving my primary premium versus rentals, because I can't write off my primary. And hey, a $2,500 savings in my primary is more significant than a $500 increase in my rental property. But Jeff, I'm curious, because I know you're a numbers guy, you know a lot of rental properties. How has insurance treated you this year? How big of a smack did you get from it?
Yeah, I would say across the board, it's between 20 to 30% overall compared to last year. And actually, I just shopped them with one of Troy's guys, Kendall, insurance broker, and he was able to, not drop me significant amount, but enough that it makes sense to switch it over, because he actually saved on my auto and a couple of the rentals and have better coverage than what I was getting with my current insurance. So yes, I did feel the impact of those fires that happened a few years ago that affected all of us. And then of course, all the hailstorms that happened recently, right? People filing claims left and right. Even if it's just a few shingles, they file a claim. And then of course, a roofer's gonna go out there and say, yeah, you should replace the roof, even though the roof's 2 years old. And that's what hurts all of us. And that's why we get those increases beyond just the fires that happened a couple years ago in Erie, I believe. So yeah, I definitely felt the impact myself. I kind of look at it the way it's like my mortgage payment, the principal and interest portion's fixed for 30 years. The taxes and insurance go up, but they don't go up as fast as the rents do usually. So I look at it more from that perspective, is in the end, the tenant's paying for the increase. So it's, hurts my cash flow a little bit, but rents usually go up, usually increase more than that. So I don't look at it as a negative thing. And then it's always smart to look at it once a year, like what you just did, where once a year, look at it. And if there's ways to save in certain things and ways to do things better, if you got the increase and you don't want to accept that, you don't have to have loyalty to your insurance company because there's so many of them.
Yeah. And I encourage everyone out there, right before your insurance renews, or at least once a year, go reshop your insurance and go double check all your policies. Like I said, overall, mine went up slightly, but I've heard some horror stories of, 40 or 50% insurance jumps. Mine was maybe overall a 10% insurance jump, because I saved on primary, actually saved on my umbrella a lot. I went from a they were going to increase my umbrella to like $2,000 a year. I was able to get one back at $600. So like some went up and some went down significantly. And if you guys need help shopping, I always recommend talking to an insurance broker where they go out there and they represent, multiple insurance companies, not just, one company. And my favorite place to get insurance recommendations is from lenders. So if you guys need an insurance broker, reach out to Troy for some recommendations. Because you know why? Lenders see a lot of insurance premiums. They talk to a lot of buyers. They talk to a lot of people. And I found lenders often have the best recommendations for insurance brokers. So Troy, you might have some people calling your way. So hopefully you got some good referrals for them.
Bring them on. Yeah, they're great.
All right. Last part of the podcast here. Let's talk about a deal. So Jeff, you were giving me the highlight of one before we hit record. Jump in the details and tell us about a deal that you've done recently.
Yeah, so there's one right now. It's a fourplex in Denver, West Denver, $890 purchase price. Pretty interesting unit mix. Usually they're the same units for a fourplex, but this one is actually a side by side by side by side. So it was like an old triplex, and they added some addition to make it a fourplex, something like that. But not up down style, just side by side by side by side style, which those are my favorite because you get the benefits of privacy, and also the noise is only on one wall instead of up down style on the sidewall. So this one's interesting because it's been on the market 40 days and definitely has room to negotiate with the seller credits. Motivated seller, he's owned it about 14 years. And for a house hacker, it's really different because this seller renewed all the leases right before listing it, which could be good and bad in a way. So for someone that's looking for something moving ready to go, and you don't have to do anything, you can just move into the 1-bedroom unit that's available. So the unit mix is 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-bed, 1-bath, 1-bed, 1-bath, 1-bed, 1-bath. So 2 1-bed, 1-bath units, 1 2-bedroom and 1 3-bedroom.
You don't see many fourplexes with that layout and that. You live all about the same unit mix.
Yeah, it's all side by side. Yeah, all side by side too. So new sewer line, new roof. And this one's special because he renewed them, like I would say close to market, but right now with 3 units rented, everyone but one bedroom's vacant. So the 3 units are rented at $5,200. A mortgage with 5% down, conventional. Since Troy is so gracious to give us that loan, thank you, Troy and Fannie Mae. And to buy it down the rate a little bit to like 6 3/4 or 6.5, you could probably looking at a $6,200 a month mortgage. And you have your own unit yourself. So I look at it, you're paying $1,000, $1,200 to live in your own unit. Learn how to house hack. You already got 3 tenants paying, 90% of your mortgage. You're paying $1,000 or so, and you'll get a great education. And then 1 year's time, when you turn it over to like switch them to one of my favorite strategies right now, the Section 8, you'll get more or less $9,000 of gross rent, Chris, minus utilities. So $9,000 after Section 8 takes out for utilities, with the $6,200 a month mortgage. You're looking at a pretty good, and then minus holding back for maintenance, vacancy, and capital reserves, call it 10%. You're probably looking at like close to $2,000 per month in net cash flow on that one after you move out and rent out your unit. So that's like more one for someone that just wants to move in, rent ready to go, and wants to get going on house hacking, but doesn't want to have to deal with tenants, and more in the sense of like finding tenants until a year from now. So that's a great example of one that they still exist out there and it's on the market right now on 40 plus days.
Wow. You think you get $9,000 in gross rents on a, $850,000 fourplex?
$890.
Wow.
And that's me taking out when they do. Denver already does a 10% multiplier on the fair market rents that I've talked about before for Denver Metro. So they do a little 10% or 10% premium. So taking off, the 10% minus for Excel, like, and sometimes water. Like I took out those numbers and yeah, it's 9,000 easily.
That is a very impressive deal.
Yep.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, as you got I'm thinking, I'm doing some mental math on there, and I am very intrigued by those numbers, Jeff. So great find.
Yeah, it's a rare fourplex. You don't see them like with that unit mix.
So last question, do you know, you said they added another unit on there. Do you know, is the true fourplex right now, or is it kind of like in the gray zone? Hey, it's a triplex, but
it's built 1940. So they did it sometime like during that time. Okay. So it was originally, you kind of tell because like 3 of the units have like a different, like it's like painted white, and then this one's like painted blue, and there's only 3 electrical meter boxes. So you could just, it was originally a triplex, and maybe they switched it. Someone's sharing 1 electrical meter box. So that's why it's kind of like a non-conforming fourplex, but it would still work because the city of Denver, I would just make sure to ask for like a non-conforming use from the city to confirm it's a fourplex, and then you're fine. That's the way to confirm for any buyers out there.
Okay. Well, great deal to share and some great tips in there, Jeff. So thank you. All right, crew. Well, it's time for us to wrap up on here. Any final stats, deals, or numbers you guys want to throw out before we wrap up here? I've hit all my talking points.
I would say for buyers, you're right, Chris, the summertime, because of what you have to think of, who's your competition. That's what buyers should always be thinking about in the back of their mind. And for a lot of these properties, it's not so much investors or other house hackers. It's a lot of families or individuals. And what do people do during the summertime, especially families? Kids are out of school. They're traveling. They're busy with, the kids' baseball team and the minivan and all that fun stuff. So look at it as opportunity. Look at it as, hey, the market's a little softer right now. Let's see if I could go in with a disrespectful offer and maybe ask for more than I expect. And, sometimes you have to make your own deal work. Like you see the 7% rate, doesn't mean you have to accept that. You could have a seller credit, and then Troy could work his magic and get the rate down to 6, or tell you how much of a seller credit you need to get to a 6% rate and have the seller pay for it. And then you got yourself a better deal than just accepting the reality at 7.
Great.
Right. Like I had a deal close last week, and they did a buy down. And so they're starting off interest rates 5 1/8 for a year, effectively. Right. And then the next year it's going to be 6 1/8. So they've got 2 years before it goes up to the 7 1/8.
Their long term is 7 1/8 interest rate. Okay.
7 1/8, which is just a little above the going interest rate, but they got the buy down and a couple years to work with to.
So I'm assuming they're comfortable with that rate long term, and they may be eyeing, if rates drop, a potential term refi, so they can go out there and potentially lower the interest rate next couple of years. Yep,
that's kind of their strategy with it, and and they qualify. They're comfortable with it, but you have to qualify at that full rate, right? You don't qualify at the bought down amount or bought down payment. So they're definitely well within their means, and it works out great. And that's money that you'll see one way or another. Those buy down funds, when you do those temporary buy down deals.
Fantastic. All right. Well, this has been another great episode. We don't have a lot of insight on interest rates right now. They'll probably stay about the same where they're at. There are some buying opportunities out there. And of course, we've been talking about that. I'll make a note on there. I did sell 2 properties in March, and I'm looking to sell another property this year. This is actually a fourplex. It's time for me to go out there and recycle the capital. So there are, depending on where you are in your investing career and what type of deal you want to buy, there's different opportunities out there. So if you need help with lending on, hey, buying a new property, I've had a few people need to go out there and do some refinancing as well. Hey, go out and talk with Troy Howell. He is a go-to lender that Jeff and I and a lot of our team members use and recommend. And he's always been not just a great lender with great rates and products. He's also just great at helping people kind of be the advisor on there as well for like, hey, consider this, doing this. If you guys need help buying a property or optimizing current rental, reach out to me and Jeff. We love the rental game. This is a game that we're both active in and we love. So Jeff, Troy, thank you guys so much. As always, it's been a fantastic podcast.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. We'll see you next month.